When making mead, one of the biggest questions new mead makers ask is, how do I know when fermentation is done? It's easy to assume that once the bubbling in your airlock stops, the yeast has finished its job, but that can be misleading. Relying only on airlock activity could lead to bottling too early, which risks off flavors, overly sweet mead, or even exploding bottles. Thankfully, there are clear and reliable ways to know for sure when fermentation is complete. Before we dive in, please take a moment to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notification bell so you never miss out on the best tips and tricks for making amazing mead. And as a special thank you for watching, I'm giving away my free ebook, Mead Making at Home Easily. It's loaded with my step-by-step process and advanced techniques to help you craft exceptional mead. Stay tuned until the end of the video to find out how to grab your copy. Now let's jump in. Fermentation starts when yeast consumes the sugars and honey, turning them into alcohol and CO2. In the beginning, it's easy to see. Bubbles rising, foaming, and yeast swirling inside the fermenter. But as the process slows, those visible signs fade, making it harder to tell if the yeast is truly finished. Just because an airlock is silent doesn't mean fermentation is over. And just because it's bubbling doesn't mean it's still active. The only way to truly confirm fermentation is finished is by measuring gravity. A hydrometer is your best tool for this. Before fermentation, your must is rich in sugar, and that's measured as original gravity, or OG. Most traditional meads start somewhere between 1090 and 1140, depending on how much honey is used and how sweet you want the final product. As yeast works, that gravity number drops. Fermentation is considered finished when gravity stays the same for at least 3 days. But to be sure, take readings over 5 to 7 days and watch for any small changes. If the gravity remains stable, your mead is likely done. There are also other clues. Clarity is a big one. Mead that started cloudy will clear as fermentation completes. Not all the way though. Yeast will settle to the bottom, leaving behind a golden polished look. Another easy check is the CO2 test. Gently swirl the fermenter. If bubbles rise, there's still dissolved CO2, meaning fermentation may not have fully finished yet. If no bubbles appear, that's another strong sign that it's time to move to the next step. Different meads finish at different gravity levels. A dry mead usually lands around 1.000 or lower. Semi-sweet meads between 1010 and 1015, and sweet meads around 1020 or higher. Keep in mind that if you're using a refractometer, you'll need to adjust for alcohol to get an accurate reading. I always use a hydrometer. But what if fermentation stalls? Before reaching your target gravity, yeast can slow down or stop for a few reasons. If the temperature is too low, warming the temperature could slightly help. If the yeast didn't have enough nutrients, a small addition of yeast nutrients may get things going again. And of course, pH is another crucial factor. If pH drops below 3.2, yeast slows down significantly. And below 3.0, it may stop completely. Mead ferments best between 3.5 and 4.5. If pH is too low, adding potassium carbonate, potassium bicarbonate, or calcium carbonate can raise it and restart fermentation. I recently ran into this exact same issue. I made a mead with an OG of 1120 and a starting pH of 6.2. I pitched the yeast and fermented it around 53 to 55 degrees using a plastic bottle as my fermenter. While I never saw the airlock bubble, I could see plenty of activity inside the vessel. After about 3 weeks, everything seemed to stop. So I checked my gravity with a hydrometer and I tested the pH with my Milwaukee pH meter. The pH had dropped to 2.8. Wow, which explained why fermentation had stalled. So I added potassium carbonate, and within 8 hours, the yeast was back in action. A week later, the final gravity had reached 1020, confirming that a simple pH adjustment had made all the difference. That's why monitoring both gravity and pH is essential. Without both, you might think your fermentation is done, when really it's just stuck. So once fermentation is truly finished, the next steps are just as important. Many mead makers cold crash their mead, placing it in a fridge or a cool space to help the yeast particles settle, making it clearer and smoother. If you want crystal clear mead faster, binding agents like bentonite can help speed up the process. At this stage, aging becomes key. Freshly fermented mead can taste harsh or hot because the alcohol hasn't had time to mellow. With aging, flavors smooth out and blend together. Some simple meads are drinkable within a few months, but the best results often come from waiting 6 months to a year or more. If you prefer a sweeter mead, this is when you'd back sweeten by adding more honey. But to prevent fermentation from restarting, you'll need to stabilize it first with potassium sorbate or metabisulfate. Different styles of mead also have unique needs. High gravity meads, those with lots of honey, take longer to ferment and require extra aging time. Melomels, which are fruit meads, often have extra residual sugars that can ferment slowly, even after the main fermentation seems done. So if you're making a sparkly mead, you'll need to carefully monitor sugar levels to avoid overcarbonation in the bottle. Before bottling, run through a final checklist. Have confirmed stable gravity readings over several days. Is your mead clear? Has all the yeast settled? Is there no bubbling or foaming? If everything checks out, you're good to go. And if you're unsure, waiting a little longer won't hurt. Mead only improves with time. Patience is what separates great mead from mediocre ones. Bottling too soon can ruin months of effort. But by following these simple steps, checking gravity, watching clarity, testing CO2, testing pH, and allowing time for aging, you'll end up with a stable, well-crafted mead that's ready to enjoy. To make your mead making process even easier, having the right tools can make all the difference. Reliable hydrometer or refractometer, prefer a hydrometer, a high-quality pH meter, and good fermentation equipment will help you dial in every batch with precision. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to like and subscribe. Now, as promised, you can grab my free ebook, Mead Making at Home Easily, using the link in the description or the pinned comment below. It's packed with my personal mead making process and advanced techniques to help you craft great mead. But if you're looking for the ultimate guide to mead making, my full ebook, The Practical Mead Maker, covers everything you need to know, from beginner basics to expert level insights. Written in a clear, easy-to-follow style, it's perfect for anyone who wants to master mead making. The link is in the description or the pinned comment below also. Are you ready to take your mead making process to the next level? Whether you're refining your techniques or scaling up recipes, experimenting with new styles, or troubleshooting fermentation challenges, I've got you covered. Check out my other videos where I dive deep into every step of the process, from advanced methods to perfecting flavor profiles, so you'll have all the tools you need to become a skilled and creative mead maker. Click here to see my mead making video playlist as well.